Hank here, and this time I'm reviewing Maono's P1 audio interface. Full disclosure that Maono sent me this audio interface a good while back, but now I can finally give my full review after using this for quite a while in the beta format and in their finalized firmware update. Inside the box, of course, you get the P1. You get a USB-C cable with a USB-A adapter, and you get the user manual. At the time of this recording, the P1 has a suggested retail price of $129.99. The P1 has an excellent build. The alloy body adds heft and durability that you typically don't find at this price point. The near flush 48 volts and direct monitoring buttons make for a sleek design, leaving the remaining 4 knobs easily accessible. Speaking of the knobs, the one-click mute for each of them is firm, and they have very little wobble to them. When it comes to the layout, on the top of the unit, you have the 4 knobs, 1 mic, 1 instrument, the monitor camera knob, and the headphones knob, plus the aforementioned near flush buttons that are the 48 volts phantom power and the direct monitor / streamer mode button. On the back of the device, there are 2 USB ports, 2 1/4-inch monitor outputs, 1 instrument input, and of course 1 combo jack. On the side of the P1, you have a 3.5mm headphone jack and a 3.5mm camera line out jack. The P1 is 24-bit, 192 kilohertz, provides 70 dB of gain, an EIN listed at -130 dB, and it is M5 certified. Test-wise, it's driving the Shure SM7B without any issue whatsoever. And now I'm going to press the mute button. And there is definitely no audible click when you press the mute button on this unit. When it comes to the auto gain feature, it's as simple as holding down this button for 3 seconds, and then you have 10 seconds while the dial's blue to talk into the microphone, and it sets the gain. I did it before I started recording, and it is clearly working well for me. And what's cool about the auto gain is even after you set it, you can still fine tune it after the fact without having to start back at the beginning. Inside the Pro Studio software, you can see we have everything set up. It looks kind of like Rode Connect or the Elgato Wave software. And that's a good thing because this used to look pretty clunky. So as you can see, you can you can hit the little X and clear any of these channels and then add in what you want. You can tether a playback to any application. So if you wanted Spotify or something on there, you could do that, Discord, etc. And then over here, this was the shocker to me. When I opened the software up and I saw that you had 8 banks of sound pads, I was pretty excited about this. So that's really cool that you get the sound pads and you can load them up for 64 total sounds. And then down here you can have the stream headphones on, OTG, or chat headphones, OTG. And the FX is just for adding the VST plugin effects on there. I haven't played around too much with that. It's not something that interests me that much, but you could check that out for yourself. So up here, you've got all the channels. Then you got the control panel. So you have the knob control for your main out, camera, etc. Then you have audio mode where you can do DAW exclusive. It allocates all audio drivers exclusively to your DAW and disables the Pro Studio internal mixer to prevent signal doubling. Then you have Pro Studio mode, which is what I'm in. It's not for DAW usage. And then you have mobile mode that routes analog input signals directly to USB-C and OTG ports via hardware, bypassing the software processing. Whatever your use case is, that's where you'll get that. Then, of course, you have the help with the firmware, language, user guide, and about information. You get your input and output latency up here for the ASIO. And to me, it's just really well thought out. I did give them some suggestions. And of course, you can see that the Pro Studio is a beta currently. But at the time of this recording, they said they didn't have any plans to make any changes to this software. Now, I've had this device for quite a while now. Overall, this is a night and day improvement over the old version of Pro Studio. It's not even close, not even a contest. But those are my brief thoughts on Pro Studio in its current form. I'm definitely not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get right into the pros and cons of this unit. I have a lot of pros for this one. Solid build quality would be at the very top of the list. This thing's got some good heft to it, and the intuitive design is just really well thought out. I think they did a fantastic job of listening to the community, and even throughout the entire beta testing, they just kept asking for feedback. They just wanted to know, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? Another pro, I like the 13-degree angle design. I think all interfaces should have that, and I am thankful that Maono did that with this. They did it before with the PS22 Lite. Another pro, the clean preamp. I've got this baby cranked up good, and I am not hearing any extra noise coming from the preamp. It is very clean, in my opinion. Another pro, 70 dB of gain on a budget audio interface in this price range. That is to be commended when a lot of other companies are stuck in that 50 to 55 dB range. Another pro, clearly, dual USB connectivity. So you could go to the phone, because one of them is OTG. You could go to a phone, a tablet, or another PC. The overlapping theme in this video, really well thought out. What do content creators want? You know, the dual connectivity, mostly for streaming, but it's great to have it. Another pro for me is the push button mute buttons. One that gets overlooked a lot is headphone muting. I love that that's a feature on this unit. You typically don't see that, especially at this price point. Quickly being able to mute the headphones is really beneficial. Say I was talking to somebody in the room and I just needed to mute the game audio for just a second, just that one click, and that's it. Another pro is the auto gain. I love how it's implemented. It's super simple, just like some of the other audio interfaces that offer that. Another pro is the built-in ASIO driver, just already being a part of the software and stuff. I thought that was really good to have that implemented like that and not make me have to go track it down. Another pro is the dedicated 3.5 millimeter camera audio out. So you could just go directly to the camera and you don't have to worry about setting up anything else or trying to sync audio by clapping and stuff like that. What a nice little added bonus feature. Another pro is the updated Pro Studio software. The first attempt that Maono made with that software was just really kind of clunky for me. You can go back and see some of my older videos on prior audio interfaces that used that. But this version of the software is more in line with like Elgato software and stuff. It'll kind of give you that look, or Rode Connect. It has a similar look to that, but we're going to circle back around to the software a little later. And another pro that's inside the software that I'm going to tack on here is you get software sound pads. I was not expecting that at all. And they magically have 8 pages with it. Sound familiar? But it is so cool that you get sound pads on that. I wasn't expecting that whatsoever, because when I had the software initially, it looked one way. And then when I did the update that they sent me, I was totally blown away by that. Love that they included that. Another pro, 3 loopback channels. Not sure why we're set at 3, but I do appreciate that you get 3 of them. If you're a subscriber to this channel, you know that another pro for me is when the headphone output is strong. And this is definitely strong. I do appreciate that the headphone output is very strong, and it's something I really look for because it's a place that a lot of companies cut corners on. Another pro is they have the stream mode for stereo output. I guess I didn't know that there's an issue sometimes when streaming that you'll have the mic input on one channel, and I didn't know that was an issue, but it does offer a stream mode where you just press the button for a specified amount of time, and the button turns like this pinkish color. So you have that enabled when that lights up like that. And then the final pro that I have for this device is they do have VST plugin support in the software. On the cons and wish list front, I've sent them to Maono, and I'm hoping that they'll take action on these. The first con I have is the knobs don't stop. They just spin and spin and spin and spin in perpetuity. Now, obviously, you max out the volume when it's all illuminated. However, it just never stops. It can just spin and spin and spin. I don't like that. I just want to be able to go to whatever the max is and it stop. Another con, and it's a nitpick con, and I'll be honest, it's a very nitpicky, and it could just be me, but I like ports to be either on the front or on the back, so I can have all the cabling cascading off the back or the front. And you've got the camera and the headphone port on the right side of the unit. And when it comes to my wish list items, I hope they take my advice on this, but when I press the physical mute button on the device, in the software, it needs to reflect that. And currently, at the time of this recording, maybe they're doing some updates to the software. I'm not 100% sure. I'll put a little notation on the screen. Hopefully, they fix that to where it reflects it in the software. If I'm not mistaken, I think other companies that have done the software and hardware stuff have had that same issue in the past as well. And then I also think the software needs to have dB lines. It has something next to it when you hover over it. It'll tell you the percentage of volume, which is fine. But I just like to have the little notches on there. And even if it's just a few of them, just so I know roughly where I'm hitting. And then an important note that the software is currently only compatible with Windows. So Pro Studio software compatibility, Windows only at the time of this recording anyway. Overall, the Maono P1 is exceptional. At this price point, I can't express enough how much I appreciate Maono taking the time to listen to actual content creators and not just guess or assume they know what we want. And just the well thought out structure, the 2 USBs, the mute on every knob. Oftentimes on these audio interfaces, you're trading one feature for another. And this P1 comes extremely close to being absolutely everything I want in one of these portable audio interfaces. In my opinion, in this budget category, this is almost as good as it gets. I commend Maono for their hard work and their effort and willingness to take feedback and sometimes critical feedback. Kudos to Maono on the P1. It's an excellent budget audio interface, one of the best ones I've ever used. So we'll see how it holds up over time, and maybe I'll do another recap on it, after 3 months, 6 months, somewhere in there, and bring it up again durability wise and stuff. We'll see how it plays out over time, but this is my initial review and I love the device. As always, thank you.